Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do a disassembly on this KWA QRF Mod 2 courtesy of JTAC Customs. Hi guys, and welcome back. So hopefully you've seen the previous unboxing of this QRF Mod 2 and you've come back to see what it's like internally as we do a bit of a disassembly on it. Now, if you've seen my TK45 disassembly, you've basically seen this gun internally. It's pretty much identical. It's just a few of the external parts are a little bit different. So we'll get started. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the front body pin and I'm just going to separate the two halves of the body. So making sure that the dust cover is clicked up and release it and just pull and it lets go of everything. Carefully put that down. So this is identical to the TK45. It's a little retaining plate. When you push the hop in, you have to push the hop in as far as it'll go, and the plate, you can see, bring it closer, there is like a little groove along here, lip, that this sits on, and push it in and it should click in, and that keeps, there we go, there, so that keeps the hop, you can see it resting against there, from going too far back. Now you could technically get away with not having that installed, and it should generally position itself in the right way, but obviously it can cause issues if it's not there. And once it's plugged into the front of your gearbox, there are, once I remove it, there goes the spring, there are little notches there and there that centralise it and keep it from rotating about, so you know your mag's always going to click into place. So looking down the barrel, and let's adjust it. That is the standard KWA hot rubber, which, I mean, it may work. Please, somebody from America, comment if you've found that this rubber works for you better, because I know you tend to run a little bit heavier weights and obviously higher FPS. So if it works better for you, please let us know. In England, on the FPSs that we're running and the general weights that people run, up to 0.25 through their AEGs, that hot rubber just doesn't give any good quality sort of hop really, and needs changing out. I do recommend Prometheus Purple, or Promi Purple as a lot of people refer to it online. The ones I've got and fit have had absolutely excellent results. So the front end here, nice and easy to remove. You undo the little screws here and you can move this forward slightly to access a little Allen key under the gas block, and the whole thing comes away. Now what I will say is the barrel retaining nut in there, the one that holds the outer barrel to the upper receiver, I can only assume it's been fitted by the Hulk himself, because it is a real job to get it off. And I know JTAC on one occasion has actually broken an upper receiver trying to get that nut off, particularly on a TK45. So that's the upper receiver. And if you want to remove the front sides, it is just a flathead screw. The screw comes out and it comes off, or it can be moved. It's not a quick release one, unfortunately. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this sort of assembly here, charging handle assembly. Just going to get a little flat head. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift that spring up and off there. So all I did there was hook it round. Oops. It just hooks over the little latch there and on. And it wants to focus, there we go. Just off like that. Then what we're going to do is this little spring here, I'm just going to pull it forward and pop it out, and then this will allow the assembly to start coming away. What I will say is I'll just remove the stock. Obviously always make sure that the gun is cleared and battery free before you start disassembling it. This ejection port cover sits behind this little screw, and that's the right thing. Please don't mess about with that screw, because you could end up causing issues to this. So just gently lift it out of position, and then this whole assembly will lift up and twist it towards you, and you'll feel like a little bit of a pop as it comes out of place. So that spring rod under there, there's a spring rod here. When you put it back in, that goes in first, and you push it forward until it can sit back in there, and it slides back a little bit. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the stock assembly. So I've got my super long Phillips head screwdriver. which I nearly dropped. There we go. So it's just a Phillips head screw just inside there. I'm just going to let those drop out. It's only a little one on a little adapter that's got a couple of pins on it to position it, and then this will just literally slide off the back. It goes. Oops. So that's just a piece of plastic with the release button for the sliding stock. So the next thing we're going to do is remove the spring guide system. So this is usually where you would have like the recoil system. Obviously it's an identical gearbox, but this area here is different. So you're just going to push it in and quarter twist anti-clockwise. And there's a spring guide. There's your spring, which looks like a traditional AEG spring. And if you look down there, you can see down into the inside of the piston. Now this is the adjustable FPS system. So when I'll just grab the tool and show you. When you remove this system from the stock, you can slide this down into here and it'll just sit in place. And if I start twisting it one way or the other, famous last words, there we go, you can see that it's getting longer and longer, which is obviously putting the spring under more pressure, so should give you a higher FPS, and that's how the adjustable FPS system works in a KWA. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop off the pistol grip. So we're going to need some hex things for that, some Torx, possibly an 8, it is an 8. Now these pistol grips are wired a little bit differently than normal AEGs. I will show you, I've shown, obviously we've covered this before. Just having a little bit of an issue then with the screw at the back there. It's fighting me a little bit, and it's a different size. It can round easily. So just take the motor, the base plate out. Now, as you can see here, the red wire is coming up the front and then goes over onto the red terminal that's sitting at the back. Traditionally, the red terminal's at the front. The black wire is coming up the front, up the back, comes into the back, and then comes over it up the front, and then connects on the front black terminal. So there's the anti sort of switch life extender unit there on the end of the motor, and you should be able to see hopefully down there. There is the red wire coming up the front, and that goes up and over and onto the red. The black wire comes out at the back, comes forward, up and onto the terminal there. So I'll get the motor out of the way. So next thing we're going to do is remove the pistol grip. The two screws are bottom right and top left, as we usually find in like an AR type variant like this. And wiggle that free. Obviously be careful, please don't tug on these wires, because you don't want to break these wires. You want them to come out easily, so just position them so that they come out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this little bit at the back here that will then release it'll start releasing part of the gearbox. That just comes out. It only goes in one way, you can see. Now if you can see, it's got some straight lines. They help you to orientate that to the correct setting. We're going to remove this now as well. So this unscrews on a normal thread. I'm just going to pull the wiring out of the way a little bit. It will get a little bit scratched. That's perfectly natural for it to get that little bit scratched. Just obviously position it in a way that it's going to get the minimal amount of scratching, but it can be a little bit tricky to get it started. Sometimes find it helps to just get a little flathead in there just to keep it down to get the initial turns going. There we go. So I've just positioned it out of the way, and as you can see now, I can just unscrew it quite happily. It's caught again, and that will probably happen a few times while you're doing this. As long as it's not snipping the wires and crimping it, it's absolutely fine. It's just about finding that sweet position to get it out. So I've fully unscrewed that now, get that out of the way, and next I'm going to remove the mag release. Oops. So there goes the screw, there's the spring, and wiggle it free. There's the rest of the mag release. As I said, this is pretty much just a TK45, just a slight different appearance. I'm just looking for where the teeth are on the little body pin. I believe at the other side. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to knock this body pin out here. So there's the pin out. The teeth did come out on the left hand side of the receiver, so if you're looking down the gun, it came out to the left. And then we should be able to nicely lift up the gearbox and take it out of the way. There is our gearbox. Now when you're reassembling it and putting it back in the receiver, you should be able to see, hopefully yeah, you can see these little boxes here. There are 3 boxes, 2 dead clear, 1, 2, and then this one is a partial box here because it's got some of the gearbox workings there. Now that, push it forward, that's in safe, that's in semi, and that's in auto. So that gives you a good indication, or that helps you guide. So if your selector's on safe, you know where you need to have that little thing sat. If when you put it back in, if that is not sat in that box and the selector's on safe, then your gun's not going to work properly on the firing modes. So make sure that your selector on your receiver matches where those little notches are on the side of the gearbox. Clear this up and we'll have a quick gander in the gearbox. Obviously this is standard wiring, it's not had a tighten in it, so we just need Torx 10. They are absolutely solidly built, these KWA gearboxes. I'm really impressed with them. A little bit annoying that they've gone sort of, what's the word, proprietary in some places. Obviously be careful, all of these screws generally have a little washer with them. So just make sure that you keep the washers, locate them, it helps to keep them obviously tight. Do not remove this screw here. This is the one that the ejection port plate sits behind that screw, so don't mess with it. You don't need to mess with it, just happily exists there without moving. Make sure you keep your screws generally in the right order, just in case there's different lengths or even different threads at times. Can be, I've seen different threads on different screws in gearboxes, so it's a good idea to keep the screws in the right sort of positions, order that you took them out, so you know which one came from where, because there's nothing worse than trying to screw the wrong screw in to the wrong place. Last screw. There we go. And then we can split this gearbox open, and all the assembly wants to come with it because of the spring. So pop that out of there. That's stuck underneath that gear. That is well wedged in there. There we go. There's a sector gear. There's, I mean, the gearbox is fantastic. It's absolutely rock solid. Let's have a look. So air seal. It's open. There's a little bit of pressure build up, but nothing much. And considering that, you know, these can do up to like sort of 400 FPS out of the box, I'm guessing all of that is in the spring and not in the air seal. So I'm a little bit disappointed. It's obviously not going to be any better when we put the air nozzle on. Absolutely no better. They've obviously gone unique on the design of that, and it's almost like an M14 sort of design. Oh, missed it off the camera. So they've gone unique on the air nozzle there, and it's almost like Airsoft M14 design where it links into the tappet plate there. So again, you know, there's no air seal. It must be working in some capacity for it to be putting out up to 400 FPS with a variable adjustment system. The gears, absolutely rock solid. It will accept, I fit a max trigger in one of these in a T6 in the last couple of days for somebody, so I know it will accept standard M4 triggers. Obviously it takes the Titan in there as well. The room is all there to take a Titan and stuff. They are really, really well built, and they're clearly built to take sort of higher batteries and things like that because of the quality of the casting machine and everything. Really, really happy with it. I hope that's been helpful to you. Please do make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.